Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to our fourth Zoom. This is Mark Wentz. My blinders are finally peeling off part 2. Mark is, in case you didn't make the first one, he is a physicist, teacher, and neurobiologist, and now he is a full-time researcher of Sasquatch and the paranormal. So I wanted to let you know that we are recording, but only the speakers will be recorded. You'll have an opportunity to type in your questions at any time into the chat, and Alexa, our moderator, can read them off. At the end, if you choose to speak and ask questions, if we open that up, you will be recorded. Okay, so I just wanted to let you know. Thank you. And Alexa, you can take over.
I actually don't have anything to say because it was just going to be to put your questions in the chat and try to be as clear and concise, just so that if we get to the question not in the moment of where the subject is, we know what you're asking. And if we have time, we can bring you on. But we also we know there's a lot of information that's going to be presented today. So enjoy. It's all you, Mark.
Okay, good. Can you everybody hear me all right? Oh, okay, good. So I wanted to pick up where I left off on the last session. I went through the evidence for people recording, both visually and audio recording, of deceased people and entities from other realms. And this, I went through several different processes by which that's done. And then towards the end of that, then I talked about Larry Costa. Larry Costa, as I just want to go through him briefly before we move on, because this leads into all of the stuff that comes up. So again, I find Larry Costa as being one of the most profound psychics I've ever met. And I've met quite a few. So I went through last time the story of Larry with Kevin Banks, the story of Kevin Banks. I'm not going to go through that again, but what I do want to do is, after listening to many different entities that Larry has channeled, I've come to some conclusions. There's just a few. This is just a few thoughts that I've gathered from both his communications and mine, because some of these entities came to me as well, not just to Larry. It's primarily Larry. In fact, it's almost entirely Larry, but some of them came over to me as well. And I contacted them mostly through dreams, but also just through thoughts that came into my head that I knew weren't mine. So here's some of the things I've learned, and these aren't terribly different than what other people have concluded with dealing with channeling in psychic matters. But first, so I just want to go through these briefly, because they will link in with almost everything else that happens in these presentations. One is that there's a vast number of realms, vast numbers. And by the way, this will link into modern physics, the thoughts of modern physicists. There's vast numbers of realms. Some of them are like others. Some of them are like ours. Others are very different. There's a vast number of types of entities. Oh, I went too far. Sorry. I got to get my buttons in. There's a vast number of entities, types of entities. The intelligent entities can have very different views on the nature of the universe and belief systems. Ghosts are just what you think they are. When you die, you continue living, and you just enter one of the realms initially. Let's see, I'm going to try my little button and see if it works here. Yeah, there we go. Let's try it, see if I can slide this up. Yeah, so ghosts are just what we all think they are. And I'm gaining this information. I've been told this directly or indirectly through Larry. When you die, you continue living and just enter one of the realms. Initially, you don't change much. You're just like you were here before you passed on, but then you begin to change, of course. There is karma. And I experienced this directly with an individual that committed suicide and he did some very nasty things when he was alive. And I got a direct communication and visualization using the structured light source, the thing I showed last session, where it puts out a beam of infrared. Anyway, I saw him. I also talked to him directly, and he did some very nasty things on this side before he committed suicide. And he told me where he was. He begged for forgiveness, and so I know that there is this karma stuff going on. So the details I don't really know, but that it does happen though. Also, things that I've learned is that time is totally relative, completely relative. It can act very differently in different realms. It goes back and forth. It goes sideways in time from one timeline to another. Time is very different in different realms. The realm one exists in is dependent upon your higher self. Now, there's metaphysical teachings on the different types of layers of one's soul. I don't even know these teachings. I know they exist. I don't know the details. So I don't really want to know. I want to learn this as much as I can firsthand, which I think I have up to a point. So yeah, so your higher self tells you what you're going to do next, or you could somehow. And I'm going to get into briefly an experience I had with a woman by the name of Linda Clement. I'm going to do this in a few minutes, and I will come back to this. It was an amazing experience I had many years ago. Regarding God, okay, after talking to and communicating with quite a few of these entities, and remember, these entities, different types of entities have different ideas about God. And so that's very interesting. So that's going to relate here in just a second to another thing. So you can travel to various realms, and you do this with your what's called your energy body. It might be what people call your astral body. You do it during sleep. Some of the dreams that you experience are you going into other realms. Now, most dreams are not. They deal with what's going on in our realm at the present time. But there are ways to do dream travel that I've learned about. And you begin to realize when you're dreaming, when you are in another realm, it's a distinctly different feeling. Let me see if I magnify this again. Entities from other realms can manifest physical things in our realm. I mean, they literally can manifest an object. I have many examples of this. So I could go into details on exact examples, but it would take me too long to explain, to describe it. There is one I'm going to show now, though, that dealt with Larry. So when Larry was, if I remember the story right, he was just driving in town, just driving down the road, and he looked down at his leg. Wait. I got my stories messed up. Yeah, let's do this one. He looked down at his leg, and he noticed there were letters printed on his leg. They just showed up. They weren't there. That's why he was driving down the road. Bizarre. We tried to figure out what the letters meant. We don't know what they mean. But that's a physical manifestation. They can write things. Now, there's other physical manifestations, which I was showing here. They literally can manipulate objects in our environment. And this is an example that happened to Larry. I had a similar one happen to me. This is where an entity named Wallace manifested these little petals on a fake flower, and was able to manipulate the petals into the shape that he said he took when he lived in this realm. And then they did Larry did a little bit of AI, taking this shape, and this is an AI creation of the extrapolation of the face. This is what appeared in front of Larry. I had a similar one happen to me with the same entity, Wallace. He did the same thing with me with a flower in the a little apartment I used to live in, and manipulated some flowers for me to prove that he wasn't just Larry's imagination. Okay, so then this happened. That was weird. Then this is the one I find most interesting for me, and that is entities from other realms control what happens in our worldly, on our side. Entities from other realms control what happens when otherworldly phenomena occur on our side of the veil. For example, all things that happen to Larry from another entity called the Wire, they're actually controlled by the Wire. We don't have. Okay, now I'm making a statement. I don't know if it's absolutely true, but it appears that we don't know how to control what they are going to do. I don't know if that's an absolutely true statement, but they seem to be the ones that control what happens on our realm. The skull experiment people discovered that as well. In order to get contact with the other realm, you have to have a teacher on the other side. This could come in many different forms. Whatever form works for you in your belief system is the kind of teacher you will get coming from the other realms. So I found this quite interesting. This comes into play when you talk about religious teachers from the other side. You talk about your angels that are with you. These are teachers from the other side. They have a control over what happens on our side to whoever they are controlling. Which now all of these things I'm talking about are things I've learned not just from Larry, but from several other psychics and spiritual teachers I've come across in my life. So let's see here. Oh, I got to get out of this. Yeah. Now, just want to mention there's a guy named Brent Rains. He's a great guy. He did an interview of Larry, and his show is called Alternate Perspective. And I put the contact here. If you all you got to do is Google him, Google Brent Rains, and go maybe Google Alternate Perspective. He did an interview of Larry, which was quite good. And then there was then Lori Rayfeld, who was in last week. She's the contact from the Rendlesham, the Rendlesham UFO event. But she also interviewed Larry and did a good interview. So there's more details in these interviews. Okay, I showed this. Lori was here last week, and that was really great. Okay, and last week I went through the Kevin Banks story. I'm not going to do that again because we've already gone through it. So all this stuff, I'm just going to go past it. And this is one of the books that Larry has out. Now, so this leads me into reincarnation. I've had a great number of discussions with entities on the other side about reincarnation, and some of them know more about it than others. Remember, these entities are not all knowing beings. It depends on who you're talking to, and it depends on how much they believe it. I've learned that some of them aren't any different than we are, that they're struggling trying to understand stuff too. They live in a different world than we do, different rules. But so what am I talking about here? Well, I'm talking about the evidence. I'm all about evidence. I'm not about taking the word of somebody telling me stuff. I want to find it out myself. And so I look for either I can find it out myself or somebody that has some actual evidence to support their statements about the other side. So this is a book that I strongly recommend. It's called Children Who Remember Previous Lives. It's done by one of the preeminent researchers on reincarnation, a guy named Dr. Ian Stevenson. And I'll go through it right here. Oops, I'm fiddling my buttons too much. This right here, I just came out of the description of the book. on Amazon, I think it was. But there's a few other books here. Is There an Afterlife? David Fontana. This is a big, thick book. And he really goes through the studies that have been done. These are not based on opinions. These are based on studies, carefully done. This is probably the most complete of the 4 books I'm showing, the first one and this one. And then these other 2, Dr. Grayson and Dr. Tucker. Very good books. So there's really 4 excellent books. And these 3 here plus the earlier one. The evidence is it's overwhelming. So this is coming right off of stuff that Larry and some others have been channeling. So I take this as pretty strong evidence. I worked with Uri Geller. This was a profound experience for me. I attended the Uri Geller masterclass along with about 100 other people around the world. And I just, to prove it, I know you can't see that very well. Let me see if I can magnify it. It was a, I don't know, 4-month class. And Uri Geller was really, really good. And for some reason, I don't know why, he picked me out. And I had direct teachings from Uri. And he did some profound stuff with me. My goodness sakes. He is the real deal. Now, he's a showman. There's no doubt about it. But he could do, we worked my guides, my spiritual guides, and Uri's spiritual guides. So we had a whole team helping me learn how to make contact with the other side. And it was a very powerful class. It went on, as I said, it went on for several months. I can't remember, 4 months maybe. So it opened my eyes up to how to make spiritual contact better in meditation techniques and remote viewing techniques and abilities to see, which I wasn't going to talk about today. I was going to talk about that on the July thing, the methods by which all this stuff works, which I've gained over this time. So I just wanted to mention the Uri Geller stuff. Really interesting guy. He's controversial, there's no doubt about it. And I don't want to go into the details of Uri. It's all over the internet. I do briefly want to talk about these 2, just briefly. David Kinsey. He was, I could go on and on about David. I'm just going to briefly get right to the point. I could tell you how it all happened, but it's not. I just want to get right to the point. David Kinsey was a spiritual teacher. I met him back in the early 82, 83, something like that. I ended up joining him. He asked me to join his group, and there were about 8 of us. And I went down to Kansas City, Missouri, where he lived. And what he did was he taught all of us how to do energy channeling within our body. It was extremely powerful. I mean, the energy you generated. And then in that process, we contacted individuals on the other side, and he taught me how to do psychometry. Now, I need to go back to it probably, but psychometry is where you touch an object and you can pick up feelings of who's associated with that object. And I was with him for off and on for about 2 years, back in the early to mid 80s. He opened my eyes up to making me realize the spiritual stuff is real. A lot of Holy Spirit, Kundalini, when gaining the Holy Spirit, David Kinsey brought that in. It was powerful as powerful could be. I contacted quite a few entities and learned about them, and then they tested me I know it could have all been faked. I get that, but I know what I felt inside when this stuff happened. That can't be faked. Now I want to talk about the Linda Clement story. This is profound. So Linda Clement, I used to do hypnosis, and so Linda Clement asked me to hypnotize her, and we just wanted to do some stuff in her present life. She was a young woman. I think when I met her, she was like 18 or 19. She wasn't that old. And it's back in college days. And anyway, so I did hypnosis with Linda. And I had never done, all I'd ever done is hypnosis of present life. I'd read about past life hypnosis, but I'd never done it. So we covered Linda's present life thoroughly, and it was profound. And you can test hypnosis. There's many ways of testing people to show that they're actually hypnotized. You can do it by reading, by writing and by, writing. So they write on a piece of paper, and you can tell that, they're like 5 years old when they write. You can't fake that when you're older. So you could tell when somebody's legitimately hypnotized. There are other tests, which I'm not going to go into details of hypnosis here. That's not the point here. So, but let me get to the point with Linda. So we did a past life regression, and it started off with, we contacted these two entities, Anna and Werner. They were from Germany, and Linda doesn't know German, but she started speaking German. It's like, oh shit, I don't know German either. So I brought in a German translator, a friend of mine who was a native, who was from Germany. So she helped to translate. And then we found out that Anna and Werner lived in the 1860s, and they wanted to come to America. Anyway, we went through the whole Anna Werner thing, and they ended up catching a boat over to the United States in 1883. They told us every detail about the boat, who's on the boat, the captain, the whole bit. We got great detail. I was able to actually verify that this is true, because there's records of those boats that you can get from the old newspapers. I was able to verify everything that Anna and Werner told us. That was not the interesting part, believe it or not. So I was getting into, now they're in America, what happens to them in America? So I was getting ready to have them tell us in German, have them tell us. And by the way, I recorded this, and I took this German recording up to a professor, and he said, where'd you guys get this? Because nobody speaks this German anymore. My translator had a hard time translating. I said, why? Because this is a dialect of the 1800s. So that was profound, but honest to God, this wasn't the most profound thing that came out of Linda. When we're just getting ready to research Anna and Werner's life here in the United States, this entity butted in. And Linda, I lost Linda. Now, when Anna and Werner were there, Anna was the one who spoke all the time. When Anna was there, Linda was still there. She could feel the emotions. She could sort of roughly understand what's going on. But this new entity came in, and when it just came in. No, I didn't ask for him. So this new entity came in, and the first thing it said is, well, if you really want to understand how things work, I will tell you. And this is super weird. Linda was a petite young lady. She didn't weigh more than 100 pounds. Very feminine. All of a sudden, Linda changed, and I don't know how you change a 100-pound young lady into this macho male figure. But all of a sudden, her physical body changed right in front of my freaking eyes. Her voice lowered to a deep voice, and she sat upright, and her whole mannerisms completely changed. She was possessed. And then so this guy started, this entity, which later Linda decided to call him Garbanzo. I don't know why, but that's what she decided naming. This entity started telling me how everything worked. And he started talking about layers of souls and layers of reincarnation, layers of timelines, and the way the universe is laid out. He went through great detail. And okay, we did this for a couple of sessions, and these end up being long sessions. I could go over the details of what he said, but basically it's similar stuff that I've learned from Larry, and that I'd already learned from David Kinsey. And what I've learned also, what happens at board camp, which I'm going to get to here in just a minute. And Cheryl, thank you for being here. I'll introduce Cheryl here in just a minute. So the Linda Clement story laid out the structure of spiritual existence and the purpose of entities in their existence in the overall universe. And that was profound. I could write a whole book just on what Garbanzo had said. And okay, so that was what Linda's story was about. Now, okay. One would think Sasquatch is very different, but it ends up, for me, my experience is Sasquatch fit right into all this stuff. Now, this goes back. So I'm going way back. So this is I'm gonna show my first introduction to Sasquatch and then lead this into board camp crystal mine here in just a minute. So this goes my first, and I will tie this all together ultimately. I may not get it all together this session, but by July we'll get this all tied together. So remember in my first session, I said, and I emphasize this, nature. If you go out in nature and you really immerse yourself in nature, you will ultimately have profound experiences. And that's what I've done most of my life. So when I was a kid, I was raised raised in Leavenworth. My father's retired military. He worked up at Fort Leavenworth. I've spent huge amount of time at Fort Leavenworth. I love the place. I love Fort Leavenworth. I just have to say it. For a kid, for a little boy, Fort Leavenworth was like paradise. So Fort Leavenworth has this place. Let me magnify this. My first Sasquatch encounter that I know was a Sasquatch encounter, I may have had some earlier, was in around 1969. And Fort Leavenworth has this wonderful place. It is a wilderness. It's not wilderness, but it's a wooded area. It's about 2,000 acres. It's between the airfield, Sherman Airfield, and the Missouri River. Now, Fort Leavenworth is on the Missouri River. I started going down into these woods when I first discovered them. A guy in our neighborhood that I lived in took me down here when I was 5 years old. I was like, holy moly, this is where I want to be. So I spent lots of time down here throughout my childhood, lots and lots of time. I knew every inch of these woods. Okay, so I was now, I don't know, 15, 16 years old, somewhere along those lines. And I decided I wanted to go to Alaska. And in a few years, as soon as I could get the hell out of the house, I was going to Alaska. So I wanted to figure out what Alaska felt like. Well, there was a winter in Leavenworth in Kansas where it was really, really cold, bitterly cold. Wind chill 50 degrees below zero. Well, okay, that's a great opportunity. I wanted to see what that felt like in the woods. So I went down in the middle of the night. Now, keep in mind, I was a strange little kid. I get that. I was a nature kid. I didn't care what time of year it was. I didn't care what the weather was. I was going to experience it. So I decided to go down in the middle of the night to this little area along the Missouri River. Now, keep in mind, this is Fort Leavenworth. Now, this is before 9/11. So they had, of course they had security, but I was the son of Ralph Wentz, and that gave me a lot of perks. I could get away with lots of stuff. MPs knew who I was. They knew my father. I could do anything, literally. And so they didn't care if I was down there, whatever time. I actually built a little cabin right about in here when I was a kid. I lived down here. So I was down here a lot. The MPs knew all about me. I helped them actually because I knew this every inch. I'd help them find stuff down here. And I go across the river because they have a facility over on the Missouri side too. I would cross the river and go over here. I knew everything about this place. So anyway, I'm down there. There was a bit of a moon, so I had some moonlight. There's big ice chunks floating down this river. I mean, it's bitterly cold. Ice chunks on the river. I'm down there with a buddy, but my buddy was he was a little wuss. And he didn't always stick next to me. He was sort of afraid to see every place I went. So he was around, but he wasn't next to me. Okay, so here's what happened. Now I don't have a picture of ice chunks floating down the river, but this is basically what it looks like. I'm down there, ice chunks. I'm sitting up off the side of the river, about 50 feet up, maybe. Let me see if I magnify this so I can paint the picture better. And so I'm back up here above, and this is really similar to the spot that I was actually at. Okay, ice chunks floating down the river. It's bitterly cold. There's moonlight, not full moon, but it's enough moonlight to see. I'm sitting there, not expecting anything to happen. And then all of a sudden, I could see it in the moonlight. This gigantic thing came out of the river. Now, keep in mind, there's ice chunks. And I saw a gigantic thing stepped out of the river. And I'm up here, crouching down, looking at this thing. And I said, what the hell was that? I'm sitting there, I'm curious as the dickens. It's breathing really heavily. And I'm wondering, what the hell is this? So I pick up a dirt clod and I throw it into the water right in front of it. It stopped breathing. It picked up a dirt clod and threw one back at me and turned its head. And when it turned its head, its freaking eyes were orange. They were orange. Like, what the hell am I looking at? I was starting to freak, but I was more curious than afraid. And all these thoughts are going through my head like, okay, what the hell could it be? Could it be escaped prisoner? No. Could it be some experiment the military's doing? Maybe. But this guy's like 8 feet tall. I had no idea what it was. And so I threw another dirt clod. We exchanged dirt clods. I think about 8 dirt clods. And it turned around again and looked at me. And then I got this zap in my head, and it said, I will see you later, but I've got to go now. And then what it did next was freaked me out. It took about 3-4 strides. I could hear it because it's dry and the leaves were crunchy. It took about 3 or 4 strides into the woods to my right, and then that's it. No more noise, no more strides, no more crunchy leaves. It was gone. And I'm thinking, what the hell? I got up and I went over to try to follow it, but it was gone. It was just flat out not there anymore. But it did say to me, I will see you later. So that was my Sasquatch that I know for a fact was Sasquatch. These are just sort of representations. I never got, a clear image like this, a pictorial. It was mostly silhouette. I got some image. The eyes were bizarre. I don't know what to make out of those. It was definitely not human. It was definitely not anything I could come up with. So I did think a lot about it. I thought a whole lot about it. Now I could go into details what happened next. This Sasquatch came to me later and told me, I will communicate to you in your dreams and in your thoughts. So I said, he told me I found out it was a she. She told me her name. I couldn't pronounce it. I didn't remember it. And so I said, well, can I just call you Emily? She said, that's fine. Just call me Emily. So I had communications with this entity, both coming to me in my little cabin in the woods and in dreams and thoughts. And this went on for another 5-6 years till I was around 22 years old. And then I asked her to leave me because my life has gotten so freaking weird with you around. I can't have a normal life because you're freaking me out all the time. you're with me 24/7. And I asked her to leave, and she did. She said, okay, I may come back to you later if you ask. But I said, okay. So I ended my relationship with this Sasquatch. It went on for years, and it freaked me out. I was trying to have a normal male, American male life and date women and play sports and go to college and do all that stuff. And she was in my head all the time. It got weird. Well, anyway, I didn't think after she was gone, I didn't think any more about it. Then I learned about many years later, I learned about Professor Meldrum, and you can look him up. He's all over the internet. Professor, I think he's in Idaho University, one of the universities in Idaho State or something like that. Whole bunch of basically proof that Sasquatch exists, and you can research the whole Sasquatch story. So okay. Now, where I live now with Maureen, my girlfriend, and this is coming into board camp, and just very quickly here, Cheryl. I've had some interesting things happen. I live where we live now, and I moved here for several reasons. Maureen and I live. Our backyard is the Ouachita National Forest. You can see it right here. Okay, Maureen set up a crystalline direction circle. 4 directions, oriented north, south, east, west. This is the north one, and this south one, west and east. And these are made out of crystals that we either found on our own property, because we got some crystals on our property, but most of these crystals I got at Board Camp Crystal Mine, which I'm going to talk about here in a minute. That I got over there over the years that I've been going there. So we set up into these 5 little groups of circle of crystals. Okay, so without going into the details of everything, I'd gone crystal hunting at a different crystal mine, at Avant Crystals mine. I gathered up a bunch of crystals, brought them back, and I added those crystals to these 5 piles. Well, okay, so over a little time period, I don't have the exact time period when this all happened. I noticed the 6th pile of rocks, and I assumed Maureen had done that, so I didn't say anything about it. And then Maureen saw it. She thought I'd done it, so we didn't really say anything to each other about it. And then I said to Maureen, did you set up these crystals? I noticed they're all the Avant crystals. They're not the Board Camp crystals. Avant crystals look different. They have a different color clay on them, more reddish clay than the Board Camp crystals. And I went and I looked at the other crystal piles, and they didn't have hardly any Avant crystals in them anymore. And so I thought that was weird. So we looked at this more carefully. We realized it's shaped like an animal, and the head was made of the bigger crystals from Avant Crystal Mine. And then these are littler crystals. And it sort of looked like an armadillo or a turtle that we have in our backyard at the time. So, but I noticed the Avant crystals were taken out of the Board Camp crystals. Super weird. Okay, so there had been some other things that had happened to us in our backyard. We had crystals that were removed from our deck and put back into the woods. And these were big crystals, not little tiny crystals. These were a big chunk of cluster of crystals. And I discovered them in the woods. I knew exactly where they came from. They were Board Camp crystals. And they weren't crystals that we found on our property. They were clusters that I'd gotten at Board Camp over the years. And I didn't move them. Maureen didn't move them. Well, who the hell moved them? I don't know. And then we go down to the Cossatot River, and we've had rocks thrown at us down at the Cossatot. That's happened a couple of times. So anyway, what's going on here? Okay, well, and then I go to a place about a mile away from here where I do offerings to Sasquatch. I learned from Emily how to do the offerings. And I do it a mile away because we have potential bear problems here. Well, we don't have them yet, but our next door neighbor has serious bear problems right now. And I don't want to do the offerings here because that will bring the bears onto our property. I'm sort of trying to avoid up to a point, but I do a mile away. And so a mile away, deep in, or a mile into the forest, essentially, I do offerings. I have an offering there that's beautiful, and they like certain kinds of foods and stuff. And so at that place, I've had rocks put up into notches of trees right at the place where I do the food offerings. Well, who the hell's putting rocks up into notches of trees? And then also there have been the classic Sasquatch constructions, the teepee constructions, the bent over arch constructions that you find many different places around the world, board camp in particular. Well, that's happened to me about a mile into the forest. Okay, so then about 12 miles east of me, of Maureen and I, there's a place called the Kiamichi Mountains. Now, they are wild. They're more wild than the mountains, than the forests here in Arkansas, where Maureen and I live and board camp is located. This is a wild place. And so there's been a lot of investigations that have gone on. Now, this is only 12 miles as a crow flies from my house. Board camp, which I'm going to talk about in just a second, is about 10 and a half, 11 miles. So I'm somewhere in between the Kiamichi Mountains and board camp. And it's all the Ouachita National Forest that goes into Oklahoma. Lots of stuff has happened to Kiamichi Mountains. So that's a whole nother investigation. And there's something called the Ouachita Project that went on for 4 or 5 years, 2011 to 2014, so 3 years. It goes back further than that, though. And they verified the existence of Sasquatch over there. Huge, huge research project. This is worth looking up. You can Google it. I have the abstract for it here, but basically, they were out there for 60 to 120 uninterrupted days. And they had different people out there set up camp. I've been there. It's about a 35-minute drive from my house because of the roads. It's about a 12.5-mile direct as crow flies. I have gone squatch hunting over there. I've already had some interesting experiences over there. But I've just started. Okay, I did some squatch hunting back earlier this spring in southern Missouri, and we had some profound experiences there. Now, we got recordings of Squatch there. Now, this place in southern Missouri is in the Mark Twain. We went there because some Cub Scouts had strong, let me see if I can magnify this. There were some Cub Scouts. Here's the picture. Here's my buddy, Daryl, and me in our campsite. And we went there because a friend of his was a Cub Scout leader at the time. And this is very frequent. This is this spring. Cub Scouts were being played with by juvenile Sasquatch. And it was very obvious that was going on. They saw them, they heard them, they interacted with them. And so they asked Daryl, my friend, and to go find these Sasquatch, and they told us about where they were. So we did. And it's a very difficult place to get into. I don't want to go into the details of it. I would, except Daryl asked me not to. So I had some Squatch encounters. We recorded some anomalous sounds while we were there. I've got the recording. I don't know. Maybe I can see if I can figure out how to play this recording. Let me go to, let's see, how do I get out of this? I forgot. Oh, I got to click out of that. So I've got a recording of the recording we made of the Sasquatch. Now, if you can hear this recording, which I'm going to try to play here in just a second, I want to keep in mind that the sound we got recorded in southern Missouri just a couple months ago. I hear it on my back deck about once a month. Not all the time. About once a month, I hear this exact same sound. It's very distinct. It's not, I think I know what the sounds, I know what mountain lions sound like. I know they make some very weird sounds. It could be, but this sound I'm going to try to play for you here in a second, matches what's called the howl, H-O-W-L, the howl that other people have said are Sasquatch recordings. It matches it exactly. So let me see if I can switch over to the recording. I hope I don't mess stuff up. Okay, let me go to share. Let me find that recording if I can. Now this may be tricky. Here, where'd it go? Oh, okay. PowerPoint post on. There should be one other recording. I don't see it here. Maybe I can get it from here. Oh wait, no, that's what this one is. That's what this one is.
I don't think we can hear it, Mark.
Oh, don't really?
I mean, I can't. Can anyone else hear it?
Can anybody else hear that? Oh,
No. Okay.
shoot. Well, that didn't work. Sorry. I
Is
don't
it
know
going
what.
through your headphones?
It's going, I can hear it, but you guys can't. Oh, do you think it's because it's going through my headphones?
Possibly.
Well, okay, I don't want to mess anything up. Let me try it again. I'll unplug my headphones. I don't think that's it, but we're going to find out.
Mark and Alberto, you're here. If you have any thoughts on the sound, on how this might be happening, feel free to chime in.
Can you hear it?
No.
Okay. Well, it was worth trying.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I did. Okay. Okay, I have it down. Okay. All right. Well,
You want to play a sound file for them?
yeah, it's.
Did you do?
Okay. I know what.
Did you do the thing that I showed you to do before?
Okay. I got another idea. Yes, we got to do. I think Maureen came in here to help me, and I think I can do it now. Let's try it this way. Can you hear it?
No.
Okay. All right.
But we really want to.
I want you to, but I can hear on my end, but okay, that didn't work. Okay. Well, all right, that didn't work.
Did you do the
I did.
operation that I showed you?
I did. I did the operation. Okay. Now, how do I get back? Okay, I got to get back to where's my stop sharing? Uh-oh. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, that didn't work. I hope the other videos work. All right, let's go back to the PowerPoint then. No, I don't want to do that. Okay, let's get back down to where we were. I don't know why. Okay. All right. All right. Oh, okay, go. I'll get us back to where we were. Give me a second. All right. Go down.
Okay.
All right. We're back to where we were. We will be in a second. Oh, shoot, my little experiment didn't work. I'll be darned. Okay. Okay, I want to go. Okay, go to. I want to come up here to from current slide. There we go. Okay, can you guys see this squatch hunting?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. We're back to okay. Well, my little experiment for that didn't work for some. All right, so let's move on then. So now I'm entering board camp now. So this is profound. Board camp is one of the most profound places I've ever been in my life. So board camp's located about 10 miles east of Mena, Arkansas, about more than halfway down the state on the Oklahoma border. Now Cheryl's with us tonight. So say hi to Cheryl, and Cheryl, if you want to interject anytime, please feel free.
Thank you.
So,
I want to say
okay,
hi to the cats real quick. I love it.
oh yeah. So,
Indigo's cats.
Okay, I want to
okay,
interrupt. I'm going to interrupt for 1 second, guys. Hey, Cheryl,
Okay.
how are you?
Hi.
Okay, now Mark Weber, who is a sound guy, he had an idea. If you want to go back, because we're all curious about the Sasquatch audio, and he said that you could put your headphones, if it's playing through your headphones, put it next to the microphone. If you're using the microphone on your computer, and and turn that up really loud and see what happens. Maybe it ought to work.
that might work. Okay.
Great suggestion. And I got
Okay.
yours too, Alberto. Thank you. We're going to do that for next time. Thanks, guys. All right, I'm going to be quiet now.
Yeah. Okay. So I need to go back to stop share here and go to here. All right. Now. Uh-oh. Oh, but my audio is gone. I don't have it down here anymore. I don't have my audio.
If it doesn't work, don't worry. We'll bring that back maybe for next time.
Okay.
Okay. Whatever works, Mark.
Can you see the slide?
No.
No.
Okay, you cannot. Okay. All right. So okay. All right. Can you see it now? Okay. Okay. I got to get back. How do I go back?
Fred says stop share, which you are there.
Yeah.
Then click on audio share left-hand corner.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Okay, there we go. I'm back. Well, maybe I'm not. Okay. All right. Okay, so I want to go to share again. All right, and go back to the presentation. Okay. All right. Why is it not open? Oh, I know what I'm doing wrong. Okay, sorry, I'm doing something wrong. I know what I'm doing wrong though. Okay, go to slideshow, go to current slide. Okay, so we're back to back to board camp. All right, now I'm afraid to, okay, so board camp, we have Cheryl, of course. Can everybody see this now?
Yes.
Okay, good. So we have Cheryl and then Orville. Cheryl and Orville married, own the property. That's me. There's also Deb, who's not, I didn't put her in the picture here because she's not part of the story in this, but there's also Deb, their relative, so to speak. So, and then there's Jay. Now, Jay Pittman is just fundamental to so much that goes on there recently out there. By recent, I mean last few years. Jay Pittman has this camera system. It's not a camera. It's actually a viewer. It's called a Starlight system. It's not actually a camera. It came off an Abrams tank. He got it on eBay. And what it does, it's not an infrared camera. It's an amplifier. It takes ambient light and just magnifies it. And it does bleed over into the infrared. I'm going to talk about that camera a lot. It's not a camera. Talk about that system. Then you hook just a regular video camera up to the eyepiece to get the video. He is very fundamental in what's about to happen. So, okay. Go. All right. So let's go to the next one. So the layout of board camp, I got to do this so we know, you sort of get a rough idea of what I'm talking about when I'm about ready to start this. Now this was this is a Google shot taken a couple years ago. It's changed a little bit now because they have some other structures on there now. But so the key points that are important is the stage, which is a large stage that Orville and the group built years ago because they actually had concerts there. There's a big field here that goes, it's a hill that goes up roughly to the south. You can see the direction here, south. And then there's a place called the event site, which I'll talk about why it's important in a minute. But then also, which will be important, the region below the event site, which is what I'm showing you right here. So, okay, so this gives you the layout of the land for the point of the things that are relevant to what we're talking about. Now, well, so Cheryl, you could interject here if you want, but just to give a beginning point, this is where I start the story. I know it started before this, but I think it was in 2000, correct me if I'm wrong on the details, but in 2018, you guys saw these beams of light.
It was
And
2017. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. 2017. Okay, 2017.
Yes.
Now
Yes.
you've written 3 little booklets about this. Or
Two.
two little booklets. You've written a third one, you just haven't published it yet.
Right.
That's right. So in the booklet, yeah, so this is starts in 2017. Okay, so you guys, this is when the story sort of starts.
That was our first sighting for Orville and me. We had never had a sighting before. We never believed in that garbage. That was all on TV. And one evening we step outside, just look at the stars, and we glance over on a hill on our property, which we now call the event site, because that was the site of this event. And we saw the 3 beams of light manifest. And they lasted about 8 to 10 seconds, and everything went black. We live 10 miles out of town. There is no way this could happen naturally on our rural property. Go ahead, Mark. Thank you.
Okay, now, I know these are real because it happened to me. I didn't get 3 beams, I got 1. So Cheryl and Orville were very gracious to me, and they let me camp back on the south side of their property. And so one night I was back in there, my tent set up and everything. And I've known over the years, since I've been having these experiences way back at Fort Leavenworth, that the cool stuff happens in the middle of the night. Almost always. I saw my first Sasquatch, middle of the night. So I've learned that when I'm out in the wilderness, or just in the wilderness, but when I'm out in the backcountry, I go out in the middle of the night. Now I know it's a little dangerous because you got bears and mountain lions, but I've never had any real problem with that. So I sort of do it anyway. So I'm out there in the back part of their property on the south side. There's a little field at the top, and I wouldn't expect to see anything. I'm just out there walking around, enjoying the evening or the night, and this freaking light, it was so bright. It was like taking an arc welder, a gigantic arc welder, or a gigantic search beam. And I don't know how high it was. I'm guessing, maybe 1,000 feet up. I don't really know. Super bright and about the size of basketball, maybe, when you're looking up at it. It's bigger than that, maybe a little bit bigger than the basketball, but it was super bright, and it illuminated just like this shows the illumination. Now, I didn't see a beam, but what I saw was the light, and I saw the glow, and I'm standing in the glow, and it's profound. It just went on for it wasn't that long. It was only for a few seconds, but it was long enough that I knew this was extremely unusual. It was obviously not the normal things. It wasn't a meteorite. It wasn't any of those things. The only thing I thought it might have been, which are extremely rare, is an asteroid that comes, or a comet that comes straight down at you and blows up right above you. But see, I didn't see a blow up. There was no explosion. There was no explosion. So I discounted that idea. It was obviously nothing else. There was zero sound, no sound, just a gigantic bright light illuminated. I'm gonna say several hundred feet or a couple 100 foot radius. It looked just like this. I experienced it directly, and in the middle of the night. So I know these things are real. So this is why I take this stuff very seriously. So this area's been studied. This is one of my favorite ones that that Cheryl shared with me. It was the event site. I believe correct me if I'm wrong, Cheryl. This might be the event site, and this is the down below the event site. I think from this picture, I'm not 100% sure, but it shows an infrared, the heating up. Okay, now recently, last several months, I've been taking radiation readings from this area. And now this is the events, I think this is the event site area. Radiation readings down here are reading inordinately high. Now they're not dangerous. And I've done, my job used to be, years ago, I was certified as a radiation specialist, and I go around and do radiation measurements various places in labs and so on. I worked for the state of Kansas, and I worked at nuclear reactors and labs. So my equipment, it's not the best in the world, but it reads beta, gamma, alpha, and X-ray. I get all the main readings. I calibrate it every time I can take a reading. I'm getting hot radiation readings right here. Not hot enough to be dangerous. You wouldn't want to live on that spot, I'll put it that way. But just walking around isn't going to hurt you. I've tracked it down to the rock. I've taken different samples out of here, and I've done a lot of research. Come to find out, air measurements of this area, when they fly airplanes over this area, and these the last time they did this was 2024. They get radiation readings from the air, indicating the presence of uranium and thorium. And so I've isolated the radiation to a gray rock. It's a gray shale. So where the gray shale pops up is where you're going to get your radiation readings. So there's a bunch of gray shale that pops up right here. Now, up here, inside the event site, there's some gray shale. And so I get radiation readings where the gray shale is located inside the event site. It's a pit. Right outside that, where I don't get radiation readings. I think the gray shale might have something to do, it's just a theory, I don't know if it's true. It might have something to do with the uniqueness of this area. Believe me, it's unique. And so now these are videos. I'm a little hesitant to waste time and go back, but there's some videos I've got, and I've got them down here. I could try to show them to you. It shows this area lighting up at nighttime. And it's not due to any normal lights. It's not. Lots of people have done car light studies out here, seeing these are due to headlights. They're not. They're not headlights. Headlights don't shine over here. So what happens is this region will glow. It just lights up. And frequently it starts down here, and then the light travels up to here. This whole region will light up. And okay, I could try to show you that process. You want me to try it, see if it works? I'm going to try. I'm tempted to see. I'm going to try it, see if it works. Okay, I got to stop share. I'm going to go down here, and I want to pick one of these. Yeah, this
if you
is
want
a good
audio,
one.
Mark, if you want audio, go down, look down in lower left or lower right, and it says share audio. You got to do share audio first, and then go in to share your video.
Okay. We might try that later. So here's the video. There's no audio to this. Now this is that same view. This is the hill. Can you all see this? Can you see?
No.
Can you
No.
see? I'll be damned. Okay, let me try playing it. Can you see it now?
You gotta share, Mark. You're getting your sharing all goofed up.
Oh, shoot. I sure am. Okay.
Share audio, then share video. And then click on
Okay.
your
I
video.
am getting it. Okay. I'm getting it all mixed up. Okay. Oh, yeah. I got to go here first. I keep forgetting to do that. I got to go to this slide next. Okay. So let me try to do that. Okay. Maybe I have to click this. Yeah, I thought I had this all figured out, and damn it, I don't. And I have it all, and I lost it again. So, okay, I lost it. It went away.
Tell us about it.
All right. Well, anyway, I got to get back to where I was. Let me see. I don't want to click X, Dylan. I want to go back to this. Okay. All right. I got to go back to all this again. All right. So now can you see where it says, did a time portal open at Board Camp Crystal Mine?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So I'll tell you what that was. I got to get the process figured out. I thought I had it figured out. Okay, so what happened was, what happens is, like I said, this area tends to glow first, and Jay's starlight system picks this up really well. This will glow, and then the glow moves up to here. Then this whole region glows very brightly. Okay, so that's what the video is about. Now, so what I'm going to tell you next literally changed my life. And this is only one of several events that's changed many people's lives. So I've been going out there to board camp since about 2019. And so this is 2023. So it's, for me, well, for this whole record, it started on Friday, July 14th, 2023. And I got to be careful. I can't go into every freaking detail, but there's so much that happened. So I was going out there to test my new little spectrum analyzer. So I bought a spectrum analyzer system real similar to the one that the people on Skinwalker Ranch use. It's very good. I've tested it. And what it does is it shows you radio frequencies from very low down to the megahertz all the way up to like 6 gigahertz. And you can set it to different ranges that you want to look at. Skinwalker have been talking about a 1.66 gigahertz signal. Okay, so I was excited to test out my spectrum analyzer. I also brought an audio system that I determined from a story by a guy named by the name of Jerry Wills, who had gone into a different realm by using different audio tones. And so I sort of figured out what the audio tones were. So we were playing the audio tones Friday night, and I had my spectrum analyzer. Okay, but stuff happened before I got there, which I'm going to get to in just a minute. So there's so much stuff here. I'm just sort of setting up. So right before I got there that Friday night, Jay, let's see how, yeah. Okay. Okay, Jay and okay, let me read this real quick. Yeah, forget this one for just a second. I'll come back to that later. So Jay was there with Orville. And yeah, so this happened before I got there that Friday night, July 14th. So Jay and Orville drove up to the event site in this car. And while they were up there, a crystal appeared on the hood of the car. Okay. So Jay comes around, and I'm not up there. So I'm not there for this event. Jay comes around and takes photographs of the car with the crystal on it. Okay, I'm going to magnify this. Okay, so he's just taking a picture. No, the crystal picture's supposed to point down here. I forgot to move that. Crystal's down here. I didn't notice that arrow's not aligned right. Well, okay, then after he looked at the picture, he noticed somebody's sitting in the back seat. Somebody's sitting in the back seat.
And Orville is sitting in the front.
And Orville's sitting in the front.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's nobody in the back seat.
Nobody else was there.
Nobody else was there. It's just Orville and Jay. Okay. So that's super weird. And so it got a little bit weirder. So we looked at the metadata data on the pictures, and the times didn't correspond. Oh, so messed up. Oops, went too far. The times didn't correspond. So now these pictures were only taken seconds apart, literally seconds. He took this picture. He took a picture of just the crystal, and then he took a picture of the crystal on the car. There were two pictures actually taken. But yet it shows the timestamps being an hour off. That was sort of weird. So we don't know what to make out of that. One picture's 8:33. This was actually the second picture taken. This was the first picture taken, and yet the timestamp shows it an hour later. Okay, maybe there's something weird about stuff I don't know about. I just thought that was sort of interesting. So, but the point is, there's a guy sitting in the back seat of this car, and he's not there. So, okay, what do we make of that? Don't know. How can this be? Okay, so that happened Friday. Now, when I did arrive, after that event had happened, after I did arrive, we set the audio blaster up on the stage to play my tones that I had brought. I'd recorded, and we were playing them on a big PA system down there, blasting it up the hill. And then we started noticing weird shit about that. The recorder turned off on its own. It just turned off. Okay. Orville was driving up to the top. Orville's down at the stage. Jay and I were now up at the event site area, and we're just watching to see when Orville's going to drive back up. And the recorder just turned off on its own. We don't know why. Orville's up there when it happens. He's not down there. And I thought, well, maybe something happened electronically. But anyway, later we went down there to see maybe there's a power outage or something. There was no power outage. Everything looked fine. For some reason, it just stopped playing. And I had it on a loop and it worked fine. We don't know what was going on with that. So that began the Friday night. That happened Friday night. And then, okay, then I also, not long before that happened, I got a spike on my spectrum analyzer at 1.66, 1.7 gigahertz. Okay. So then the next night, we go back up there on Saturday the 15th. That was when super weird stuff began to happen. So this is the basic equipment we had up there. We had a spectrum analyzer. We also had a video camera recording the spectrum analyzer, which also recorded audio. Then Jay brought another audio recorder, wasn't a video recorder. He had an audio recorder placed on a table away from everything else. This is called the Navajo table. Was the Navajo table. Doesn't exist anymore, sort of fell in. But okay, so we had a video recorder that recorded this and audio, and then we had an audio recorder down at this table. Okay, so bizarre stuff began to happen. I don't want to go through everything because it's a long story. This went on for 3.5 hours. So I'm sitting there. Okay, so we're at the event site. The event site is comprised of a big pit with wire, not barbed wire, but smooth wire that surrounds it with a couple of strands of wire, and with standard posts, fence posts, surrounds this pit. The pit's probably what, 75 feet across, you think, Cheryl?
I guess so.
Something like that. And and then outside the wire that goes around the event site, there still are 2 picnic tables. And then then down from those 2 picnic tables is another picnic table called the Navajo table. Okay, so to describe the layout, Orville, I'm sitting on one side of this picnic table with my spectrum analyzer sitting right here, if you can see my arrow. Orville's sitting on the other side of the picnic table, right directly across from me. On the other picnic table, actually, yeah, there's the other picnic table. There's a bunch of toys and stuff sitting there. There's nothing over there but a bunch of toys that people bring up for Sasquatch or the entities. Jay is not sitting down. He's standing up behind Orville. This is how it happened most of the evening. Okay, so many things happen. So before the weird stuff happened, I always got a peak at 1.7 gigahertz, always. So now everybody had their cell phones off, because cell phones can create peaks. But they usually, I've studied this, I have studied cell phones with spectrum analyzers. I know exactly what they do for both iPhones and Androids. They don't give 1.7 gigahertz. They'll give lower, in the middle, and higher. But anyway, point is, this isn't artificial. I've studied this intensely. It's not artificial. This is the real deal. So I would be looking at the spectrum analyzer, see the peak, and then, okay, guys, something weird's about to happen. Then I would hear a sound in my ear. Now, Orville and Jay couldn't hear the sound. They both have some hearing issues. I would hear this little whooshy sound. And then after the whooshy sound, something weird would happen. Okay, so what kind of weird things happen? Well, the first weird thing that, I don't know if it's first, the chronology, I have it all written out. I wrote almost a 60-page paper on this. Now, I could outline the exact chronology because every event was picked up on audio, because we're all excited about stuff, on the video recorder that was video recording the spectrum analyzer. And that thing ran the whole 3.5 hours. Jay was good and brought battery replacements. I got a full time-stamped recording of this whole sequence of events. So first thing, one of the first things happened, I see the spectrum analyzer. Then, actually, I might have this backwards. Now, I think the first thing happened was the wire. We hear a thump in the event site, a loud thump. Then the wires bounce up and down that go around the event site, bounce up and down violently, not just a little, they're bouncing up a lot. Then I see somewhere in there, right about in that time, I see the peak on the spectrum analyzer. Then I hear the whoosh. And then one of these toys, which had been on the other picnic table, just showed up on this picnic table. Okay, so that was weird. So we all start talking about the new toy that just shows up. How the hell did that happen? Then, and I might have the chronology, I might not be remembering the order quite right. I have it all written out though. So then, after the whooshy sound, then something came into my body. Something entered my body, and it was really cool feeling. It wasn't bad. And it made me go into these little shakes. I was going into convulsions, but it wasn't painful. It felt really cool. And you can hear that on the audio. Like, oh, this is cool. I'm acting like an idiot, but it was a very cool feeling. It felt really cool. And then it leaves me and goes into Orville. Orville starts jumping around like I have been. And then this one of the weirdest things that happened was a clump of grass just appeared in the middle, right here in the middle of the table. A clump of grass. The blades of grass were not crumpled. They were perfectly fresh, and the little bit of soil that was still attached to it was still moist. It was still fresh. That was super freaking weird. How does that happen? And then we start talking about this. Then we turn around briefly, and the clump of grass is gone. It's freaking gone. Like, what the hell happened? And keep in mind, I talked to Jay about this. Well, we talked about it right there at the moment. It was happening. Jay and I said to each other, did you guys do this? How'd you do it? And they didn't do it. Orville didn't do it. I didn't do it. Well, who did it? And why'd we get every time an event happened, I got a peak on the spectrum analyzer at around 1.7 gigahertz every freaking time. This went on, many different things happened. Lots of different objects got moved around. One of the, I'm going to talk about two other objects, but there were multiple objects. It wasn't just these ones I'm talking about. But one of the more interesting ones was this block of wood. This block of wood here had been on the ground, just about 4 or 5 feet down here on the ground to the left. You can see it here. This is a picture that was taken earlier, not that day, but some other day. This shows where that block of wood was originally. If you can see where my little hand is wiggling around, the orange arrow. That's where it was originally. So again, same process. I get the spectrum peak at 1.6 gigahertz. I hear a whooshy sound. And then all of a sudden, we notice a block of wood on the back picnic table. It had not been there before. It moved from here to here. How did that happen? Okay. And keep in mind, this is, yes.
You have 10 minutes left.
Okay, that's right. We'll get through board camp here then. Mm-hmm. So, all right. So that happened. One more event I want to talk about at board camp that I found particularly bizarre was, okay, so every time something happened, we all start talking about it. We get excited about it, and we're looking at each other. And so I told everybody, the thing that distracts me is the spectrum analyzer. I'm looking at the screen all the time, looking for the peak to appear. And I looked up at that. After saying that, I looked up at Jay and Orville, and I looked back down, and damn, a knife about 4-inch, maybe 5-inch. Cheryl's that knife that sits up there on one of the tables, that metal knife. It just moved. I didn't see it move. It just appeared on right next to the spectrum analyzer, right in front of my face, literally a foot away from me, right in front of my face, 10 inches away from my face. I didn't see it get there. There's no way it got there by normal means. And it's okay. So, God, so we're all excited talking about that. And so what do you think happens next? We look down, and the knife is gone. It's not there anymore. Orville, Jay, and I are still just sitting there. There's no more knife. So we get up going looking for it. We couldn't find it. So we did find it then. I hit the wrong button. We found it down at the Navajo table. And the audio recorder that had been down there, the file for the recording was corrupted for that time period of recording. The files recorded before that were fine. The files after that event were fine, but timestamped at that moment didn't work. It's corrupted. We discovered that later. Now, I want to end the board camp thing. There's so much more to board camp. And Cheryl, do you want to interject anything right now?
No, go ahead. Finish off with this. It's very interesting.
I hope I can get
Thank
this.
you.
I really hope I can get this to play. I got to get my act together. So I'm going to end the board camp with this event. This was recorded that same year. back in April 21st of 2023 with J Starlight System. It is a video. Now let me magnify. If I can't get the video to work, I can explain it. I can describe it right here. So what happened was it started off with one bright light appearing. Now the event site is right about here. This is the, no, it's over here. I'm sorry. The event site's over here. So this is a little bit to the west of the event site. But anyway, bottom line is these three lights began to appear and they moved. And they appeared to move. They could have been going back south. We're not, I can't say for sure exactly. They appeared to move down, but it could be moving, they're just moving backwards. But they appear to be moving down. So this appears to move down. Now, when you do a detailed analysis of this, a video analysis, you will see little things that look like ships, little dots of light that come down near it. I don't see them actually enter this. You see them go near the ship, several little dots of light. So what was it? It appears to be a triangular UFO. But Jay got this captured on video. Profound. Now I'm afraid to try this because I screwed up everything else so far. But let's see if I can play this. Okay, let's hit share again. I'm gonna try to do this right. Got it right here. Hit share again. Can you see this on your screen?
Yes.
Ah, maybe it'll work. Okay, let's see if I can get this to work. Okay, it's got to hit play. Where's my play button?
Right
Oh.
there.
Okay. Why is it okay? Do I have to hit something else to make it play? Why is it not playing? Okay. Is it
There it goes.
okay?
Do you need help?
Not yet. I might. Trying to get it to start over.
Can you drag? Put your
I'm
cursor
trying to
on the
drag. That's
little
what I'm trying to
button
do
and-
now. I'm trying to do
Yeah,
that.
hold and drag it. Hold your
I
mouse.
know. I know what I'm supposed to do, but
Okay.
okay. Damn it.
Doesn't seem to be working that way.
Yeah, crap.
Can I help us? with-
Yeah, please help me.
What do you,
Well, okay, I want to play this
There we
video.
go. It's doing
Oh,
it.
now it's dragging.
Hey, right there, Mark.
Okay, yeah, now it's working.
Yep.
Well, now it's doing it on its own.
Yeah, that's good.
But you can
That's
see
good.
it.
You can see it. Yeah.
You can see it. There's no real
Good.
audio that's important. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, it's going back on its own. Oh, I did this. I did this on its own. I moved it back and forth on purpose.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can see it going now.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. All right, so that worked. That's good. Okay, so let me go back to share. I want to end with one more thing. Back to this. Okay, go back to this. Okay. Okay, I think this is right. Okay, we're good. All right, so you got to see the video. Now, what I'm doing next is I'm comparing this to Skinwalker. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with been watching the Skinwalker adventures, but lately they've really gotten some very interesting stuff. They did a LiDAR, they've been doing LiDAR scans at Skinwalker. Skinwalker is a magnified version of Board Camp, in my opinion. So they've discovered using LiDAR a bubble above an area at Skinwalker where weird shit happens. Just similar kind of stuff that happens at Board Camp, but it also goes underground. It goes 3,200 feet above the anomalous area and about 984 feet below. Now, this has not happened at Board Camp yet, but remember we had the mystery man, the guy who showed up on the back seat of the car. At Board Camp, they had a creature show up on the outside the bubble, but it's a carcass that matches a dire wolf that went extinct thousands of years ago. The jaw of this carcass matched a dire wolf, a fossil dire wolf skull. It doesn't match any other canine type of creature alive today. They did DNA analysis of it, and they have found that the DNA of this carcass, 89% of it matches with an unknown species of wolf, species that does not exist today. 11% of it matches with two types of wolves that do exist today, but they don't live anywhere near Skinwalker. So my question is this bubble a time portal? I think everything has to do with time. Now, I just recently bought a LiDAR scanning equipment. And so Cheryl, as soon as I learn how to use it, I'm going to bring the LiDAR out, and we're going to start doing similar kinds of studies at board camp that Skinwalker people are doing. My equipment is not quite as fancy as theirs, but it should be sufficient. I've got FLIR, I've got infrared, I've got drone, I've got now the LiDAR, and I've been doing radiation readings, which are also somewhat weird. So anyway, this is what I really was hoping to get to on this session. So I timed it out about right. Sorry about the screw up until I learned how to do everything on the share button. But okay, that's essentially what I want to get through today. Any time for any questions or anything? Anybody still around?
We have one question in the chat. Says, how do you know the distance below the surface?
That you mean with the Skinwalker people? I don't have the expertise to fully answer that. They question that on the show, and it's simply I can only answer what they said on the show. I don't really know anything more than that. The technician who did this knows that he was absolutely flabbergasted that the LiDAR went down that far. He simply said that was as far as his probe could. I think it has to do with GPS. I think the LiDAR systems work on GPS. Bottom line is I don't know the exact answer to that. I'm sort of rambling here a little bit. I think it has something to do with the infrared signal going out and what it hits and when it bounces back. I think it hits something and reflects back, and they link it with GPS somehow. I think it's a reflected infrared signal, because LiDAR works on infrared. So the signal goes down, hits something, and bounces back. So I think they do it by maybe the speed or maybe it's done by the speed of light, because these radar systems base distance. Basically, it's a complicated little physics, but they can judge distance by the time it takes to go down, the time it takes to come back, and that gives them their distance value. I think that's how it works. Now, when they went above the ground, it would bounce back at around 3,200 feet. When the signal, and they were amazed that the signal went underground at all, and it bounced back at around 300 meters, which is 984 feet. So, but that's the Skinwalker people. It's not me. I haven't done this yet. I want to do this at board camp, but I just got the equipment, and I haven't learned how to use it yet. It's a little complicated, but I'll get it figured out. Okay.
Well, that'll be exciting for future videos. I can't wait to see that. I have another comment for you too, Mark. It was someone, she just had to leave because she had to go somewhere. But she said that the person sitting in the back of the car looks like he's wearing a travel suit. And I think she means like a space suit.
That's
Oh,
interesting.
yeah.
Any comment on that, Cheryl?
No, I hadn't really noticed that, but I always love people's comments, because everyone has a different perspective to share, and that helps us gain knowledge on something. So we'll check it out. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
One last thing, got a little bit more time. I didn't talk about this because this didn't happen to me. I've been only talking about stuff that happens to me, mostly. So December 7th of 2023, so the big event for me was July 14th through the 16th of 2023. Several months later, in December, Orville and his friend Jason, when the light showed up, when they appeared up at the event site, Orville ran up to it, and when he went into it, Orville describes going into another realm, filled with light tubes, as Orville describes them, and he sees multiple ships coming and going with humanoid-looking aliens. Now, Jason, his buddy, went up after Orville, a few minutes after Orville, and he went into the light and saw Orville go up in a mist, a purple mist, disappear. That's how Jason describes it. And Jason saw the lights, I think, below his feet also, but a large entity like a Sasquatch came up and led Orville out of the light, out of this illuminated area. They experienced a missing time of a little more of about an hour. And so that's a whole nother story that Orville and Jason experienced. I wasn't there for any of this.
Yep.
So that's just wanted to mention that. I also want to mention I have been up there when on other events, when the light shows up and I see it twinkle all about 3 feet above the ground. I see the lights twinkle. I mean, it's very distinct, many colors of twinkly light. It's like you take glitter and just throw it up in the air. It's twinkly light everywhere. So I've been up there when this happens several times, which is weird. So I'm guessing it's something like what happens at Skinwalker. So anyway, all right. So that's
Mark, thank you. That was really amazing. Unfortunately, we're out of time. I think everyone had a really great
we're out of time.
Someone, I don't know who this
Good.
is. They're on a phone. They said that they drilled at Skinwalker until their drill broke. So that may be part of their measurements.
Yes. Yeah.
And then-
yeah. There's several things. You're right. Mm-hmm.
And then we have Alex.
That's the old Skinwalker story.
You know, Alex lives not too far from you in Arkansas. He said they have Sasquatch visits at their house. They've been offering food to them. And then Cheryl took off. Now, Alex would like the name of Cheryl's website.
I just put it in the comments.
Boardcampcrystalmine.com. I'll get it to you, Alex. Okay, so for everyone who's still here, we'll be continuing with part 3, Mark Wentz part 3, on Friday, July 25th. It's the last Friday of July, as usual, at 7 p.m. EST. And thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it. This was a long one, but it was a good one, right? So it's really awesome.
All right, good.
So much. Thanks, Mark.
This is the beginning slide for this is the beginning slide of the next presentation, the UFOs.
Nice.
Okay. All right.
Very nice.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Alexa.
You bet. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Indigo.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
And
Bye-bye.
what to think about, and I have a lot of information to share with you as well.
Okay. Thanks, Alex. Okay. All right.
Come see us again, Alex.
I'll do my best.
Okay, I think that's it. Thanks, everyone. I'm going to sign off. I appreciate you. Mwah.
Thank you.
Y'all too.